Phone says that we're live.
We're live.
Are we live?
Are we?
Yep.
Cool. Well, if we're live, then what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the OmniBros Live. This week, I am your host, Ryleymo, and we have. Oh, I forgot to mute myself.
There's always one.
There's always one. And of course, with me, we've got Luis, Mr. Hardcover Reviews himself.
Howdy, howdy.
And as our special third seat today, we've got Gio from A Week in Geekdom.
Hey, everybody. I am so happy to be here. I can't wait to talk about the Japanese funny books, as they say.
Yeah. Gio is our Japanese special correspondent.
Yes, Jess couldn't be here for reasons that we will not get into, but here I am.
I taunted Jess and told him that he needs to read more manga, and he said no. So,
very affirmative.
Yeah, he was like, I'm not getting into that stuff. Essentially, it's like basically Jess saying, I have no room nor any time to get into an entire other like language worth of books.
Basically, yeah. He's like, if you guys are into them big googly eyes, that's just not natural.
So I mean, it works, I guess. It keeps him from spending too much money. He's missing out on some cool stuff, but it lets us have a good episode with the three of us, a Gio episode. If we get to talk about some manga and anime. Real quick before we get into the meat of this meal. Did y'all have any exciting purchases or anything that you read this past week or so?
I can go first. That's all right. I did not read anything, but I did get a bunch of cool books that I was not expecting to spend so much on. And if I can just pull up the order, where is it? Yeah, I didn't get the Hickman Omnibus that everybody was raving about, but I did get Wayward. I got them right here on my phone. I did get Wayward hardcover Volume 2. I did get Monsters Volume 2, Wonder Woman by Greg Rucka Volume 2, Inhumans vs. X-Men, and I did get the Scarlet Witch trades, which people apparently liked the review on my channel, so I got Volume 2 and 3, so look forward to those reviews eventually.
Nice. What about you, Luis? Anything exciting?
I mean, I got 8 volumes or something, but that's also something that I'm going to talk about in regards to like what the topic at hand. But okay. I guess I can mention it. I'll just go into more detail later. I picked up the first 8 volumes of My Hero Academia, thanks to Gio and like other members of the group, and I've fallen in love with that series. It's so damn good. It's so great. And I've been reading it and watching the anime alongside, and they're both fantastic. That's about it. Yeah, that's it.
Coolio. I'm trying to think about anything I got. So my birthday was Tuesday, so just 2 days ago, I guess. And I got some stuff. I didn't get any comics. I got a few figures. My buddy Robbie was able to find me the Dark Phoenix Cyclops Legends set, which was awesome. And then I got mostly like video game stuff. One of my buddies got me a Raspberry Pi, and he put all of the like classic NES, SNES, N64, Sega, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games on there. So I have thousands of games
nice
loaded onto this thing, and we were just fucking with that for days. And then I got back I went to Houston, got back from Houston, and bought the Crash Bandicoot trilogy, and my wife and I have just been playing that. She's been playing more than I have because she's better at it than I am. But she's been cursing up a storm at that game.
Oh, my girl's playing it right now as we speak. And have you guys gotten a Bridge to Nowhere? That's the
yes.
That's a bitch.
The trick to that one is you walk on the ropes.
Yep.
So the first bridge one, she didn't realize that, and she wound up spending hours on it.
Same.
And eventually beat it. And then like she kept saying people would be like, "Oh, Bridge to Nowhere is so much worse." And then I went to sleep really early last night, and I woke up today and asked her like if she played the game. She's like, "Oh yeah, I beat a lot of levels." And then I asked her like, "What about that bridge level?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I beat that too. It wasn't as bad because I realized you can walk on the ropes and just avoid all of the jumps and shit altogether." Oh, okay, well, that's fun. So she made good progress on that while I was sleeping last night. As far as comics, I did pick up a set of manga. I'll just grab the first one. I was able to fund a purchase of the BizBig's Dragon Ball Z, thanks to one of the members of our group who bought the volumes from my older volumes from me. I'm really excited about that. I think we both got pretty good deals on that deal right there. And the Dragon Ball volumes are coming soon. In Stock Trades is just busy finding a copy of the first one for me, I guess. So that's about all I bought and all I got this week. And I've read very little this week because of video games. I read a little bit more Berserk. I didn't read as much as I wanted to. I was trying to finish it before today, but that didn't happen. And I've been trying to catch up with my weekly comics, but I have like 120 issues that I need to read right now. So I've just fallen way far behind. But I did read some of those DC Looney Tunes crossovers, such as the Elmer Fudd Batman one, which was really good.
I heard that was fun.
And if you've read that one and you like that one, I also recommend the Jonah Hex Yosemite Sam issue. That one was really fun. It's also got Foghorn Leghorn in there, and they're like, Yosemite Sam is just like, I don't know what the hell you are. Just a giant talking bird.
That's great.
He's like, what in tarnation? But anyway, so that's it for me. So I guess we can start heading into our main topic, which today, like it says down there, is manga and anime. Essentially, I've been pushing to do this episode for a while. Every week I'm like, hey, let's do one, and then something happens, and everyone's like, you're a total freaking weeb. We're not doing like manga episode. But I really want to do one because while I was into superheroes first, manga were the first comics, like physical comics, that I was actually buying regularly because they were affordable when I was in middle school. And I've been collecting them for so long and watching anime for so long, and it's such a big part of my life. And now that I have enough money to afford both the comic and manga hobby, I've been getting a lot more into buying more manga and trying to pick up some series that I missed out on. So right now I'm getting into more of the adult-oriented titles that I missed out on, but it's really shonen is still my bread and butter. And so I'm probably going to talk mostly about shonen books tonight, but I'm making a point personally of covering books that at least I haven't talked about in the past. But
any chance, just throwing this out there.
Yeah.
Since I've read Golden Age. We could talk Berserk, at least the Golden Age arc.
Yeah, we can talk Berserk. We'll try and keep it a little bit spoiler-free, just for anyone who might not have watched or read up to that point. Just keep it safe. But as far as intros go for the main topic, I don't know what else to say. I don't know if you guys want to just run right into talking about a few different series. We can all just jump in and tackle things together. Did y'all have any particular books that you wanted to talk about?
I'll let Gio take it. He looks like he's hyped.
Yeah, I'm hyped. Okay, we're going to talk about manga. So originally I was a little bit scared because I don't own a lot of manga, though I must admit in the previous years I may have read a few manga here and there illegally. But that's all changed, and I actually remembered, hey, I do have some books that I want to highlight that is not the usual fare. Usually when we talk about manga in topics and on the group and online and stuff, everybody keeps mentioning either Dragon Ball or One Piece or Berserk in the case of the Omnibus group and all that stuff. But I wanted to talk about some titles that I really love because I am a very unconventional reader. I like things that most people don't dig. I'm going to highlight, let's see, I'm going to highlight one of the very first manga I ever got. And here's a funny story. I didn't know that it was an anime first, and then it got adapted into a manga. And it is the romantic comedy, if you will, of Police Teacher, or if you want to go the Japanese route, Onegai Teacher. Now, what the hell is Onegai Teacher? It's basically a manga about this alien chick that lands on Earth trying to study human culture, and she has to pose as a high school teacher. She ends up falling in love with one of the students, but before you freak out, this student has a very rare condition where he has been several years in this deep coma, of course, for plot purposes. So his body looks like a high schooler, but he's actually well into adulthood, maybe like 20-something years. So it's technically legal, and some hijinks ensue. It's a really fun story, and it made me realize that comics, manga, and all that stuff, it doesn't necessarily have to be about superheroes or big action like Dragon Ball Z and all that stuff. So I really tend to go for the slice of life stuff and romantic comedies and all that. So I really felt at home with this. And when I did find out it was an anime, it just wasn't the same because I first read it here on this these two books over here. And I don't want to, let's see if I can open this without showing any gratuitous fan service. But it's very tricky these days. But yeah, you know, it's your standard black and white manga, I should say, but really cool, really fun. If you have some time, you can check out the anime and then check out how they did the manga adaptation. If not, just check out the anime. Next up, I wanted to highlight a book. Now, I haven't read everything, but I have read the starting volumes, and it is from Shonen Jump, Bakuman. I have the first volume here of Bakuman. If you love how manga is created, or comic books, or just popular literature, if you will, check out this book. It's really cool. It's about these two guys that want to get into the manga industry. So you follow them in creating their indie manga and trying to get into Shonen Jump and all that stuff. So it's really fun. They go through a lot of troubles, and you see how it's, you know, sort of a fictional representation of what it's like to work at the manga industry in Japan. Next up for my big action titles, I want to highlight two, actually. This is one of my favorite manga of all time. It is Samurai Deeper Kyo. If you've never heard of this, it's an older title, back when Tokyo Pop was still a thing. They released this manga basically about samurai. It's after the Battle of Sekigahara, I think. And our main lead is, through some magical hijinks, gets his body trapped with another murderous samurai called Demonized Kyo. And in the future, or in the present time of this story, there's a bounty hunter, which her name was Yuya, I forgot. And she's after Demonized Kyo. So yeah, lots of interesting things. If you love Japanese history, if you love samurai action, combining historical data with fictional adventures and all that stuff, I think it might be up your alley. But please, as a public service announcement, do not check the anime because it was utter garbage. And yeah, no, basically the story, just to summarize things, the story is that these two characters are sharing the same body. Yuya is searching for her brother's killer. She's a bounty hunter. She finds, what's this guy's name? I forgot. Kyoshiro. He finds Kyoshiro, who houses the entity or spirit of Demonized Kyo. And as she's trying to capture him, a lot of other characters jump in and are trying to do the same because of that other side that lies within him. So you see a lot of that, and you see a lot of big action stuff like Naruto type action and all that. So if you love samurai and mystical ninjas and all that stuff, then yeah, definitely check out Samurai Deeper Kyo. It's a little lengthy. I think it was like 38 volumes, but it's well worth your time. Again, don't watch the anime, please. What else? Two more books, and then I toss it off to you guys. I love my slice of life, so I wanted to highlight Orange. Basically, in Orange, it begins in a classroom, in an 11th grade classroom, and our main lead, she's a girl, and she receives a letter from her future self warning her about things that are about to happen. that she shouldn't fall in love with this guy or do certain things, and she starts getting a little bit spooked when they actually start coming. They start. My God, I forgot what I was gonna say. They start coming true, and she has to figure out what she's gonna do moving forward. It's really heartwarming. They recently did an anime of it, so if you like school life, school drama, and slice of life, then I highly recommend it as well. And last but not least, one of my favorite manga as well. A lot of people like this author, and you guys as well. I, of course, am talking about Naoki Urasawa, and I am talking about Pluto. If you love Astro Boy, and you want to go a little bit further in a noir, heavy-inspired detective story set in the future, basically a reimagining of Mighty Atom and all that stuff, then I highly suggest you pick up Pluto. It is really engrossing, and you'll find out why Naoki Urasawa is a national treasure that everybody should experience. So yeah, that's sort of my catalog of manga that I wanted to highlight, and I leave it to you guys.
So I thought it was funny. I've never seen anyone bring up Onegai Teacher, but I know about the series because one of my friends watched the anime back when we were in like middle school or something. And it was so funny because, I mean, I never watched it, but it was very clearly like hugely fan servicey.
Oh yeah,
especially given that, you know, we at the time were like middle schoolers that should not have been seeing stuff like that. But given the fact that it was a cartoon, his parents never batted an eye, as long as, you know, they didn't walk in on an awkward scene or something. It was fun. Yeah. But it's really funny.
I mean, the show, thankfully, it's not like other animes nowadays where they do go a little bit extra with the fan service. This was a little bit tame, in my opinion. It was mostly PG-13 stuff. But yeah, at the time, we didn't know any better. We thought this was the closest thing to pornography. I don't know.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have any personal experience with it. But I know isn't there like a sequel or related series called like Onegai Twins or something like that?
Yes, it's a separate story set in the same universe about two twins. They find out that they have a brother in common or something like that. And it's sort of the same style of the series, but it doesn't take place in a school per se. There's also a very excellent spin-off that's related but not related. It's called Waiting in the Summer. It has a very similar premise, and you could say it's sort of like a soft reboot or a reimagining. Really cool stuff as well. That one's a little bit more tame in its fan service and stuff. So yeah.
And so you brought up Pluto. Have you read a lot of the other Urasawa stuff? Because I don't think I've actually read much from him myself.
I've only read Pluto, and I have Monster with me. I was going to check out a few years ago 20th Century Boys, which I know Louise really hypes it up. Mm-hmm. I have not read it, but I know it's one of his best works, and it's just everything from this man is just solid. Especially Monster and Pluto, which are the ones I read. But yeah, they're definitely worth it.
You definitely owe it to yourself to check out 20th Century Boys. It's 22 volumes long, with 21st Century Boys being the epilogue, and there's 2 volumes of that. Phenomenal series. Urasawa is a national treasure for a reason. The guy's not just one of the best mangaka writers around, but he's one of the best writers that I've ever read. Like, the guy's just on another level in terms of like his scale and in terms of brilliance in his writing and things like that. Like, I would probably liken him, and I know some people probably won't agree with me, to probably close to Japan's version of Alan Moore in that sense of like how they regard him there.
Oh yeah, I would agree.
That makes sense.
With 20th Century Boys being his absolute greatest work, his magnum opus. Although I've heard Monster is phenomenal as well, but just the sense of scale of 20th Century Boys is insane.
Just in the plot alone, I think you're right. I haven't read we're on the inverse here. I haven't read 20th Century Boys, but just the scale of that story and what I've read about it and the summaries, then yeah, I would agree. Monster is a little bit more, it's a more smaller and realistic, whereas 20th Century Boys goes for bigger ideas. But still, they're both great titles. Same with Pluto over here. If you like a good detective story in the future, like your Metropolis or even Blade Runner or stuff like that, and you want to read it in manga form, I would suggest Pluto. It's like 10 volumes, I think. It's pretty short.
Yeah, Pluto is phenomenal. It's probably his tightest work from what I've read, because 20th Century Boys, not that it meanders, but it's so grand in scale, and it's so out there that at times some people say, oh, you know, it drags a little bit in the middle and stuff like that, but he lands the ending. It's just kind of going back also to all that, but 20th Century Boys, for me, it's just so impressive how you're getting 3 different points of a story, 3 different periods of these kids' lives, and he does it flawlessly. He bounces in and out of their lives at different points, and you see how one character got here and one character got here, and then he lays the seed for something else. You could be on volume 18 and you found something out that you've discovered something to a mystery that happened all the way in volume 2, which is it's just brilliant.
Before we switch people, Gio, what were your first what were the first anime and manga that you ever read and watched?
The first anime I ever watched would probably be, like, I'm guessing we're going to share the same answer here. It's either Pokemon or the original Dragon Ball. It's probably one of those two. And the first manga I read, oh man, I think it was like back when I was in 9th grade or 10th, I don't know, somewhere. One of my friends, they were selling back then a box set of the first manga volumes for like the early shonen stuff, that like the starting pack, if you will. It had the first volume of Yu Yu Hakusho, Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, One Piece, and something else I'm forgetting. And I think that set was my first exposure to manga. So one of those volumes was probably the first one. Probably Yu Yu Hakusho, because it was like literally the first one. I'm like, oh, it's about ghosts and stuff. I like ghosts. So I read that.
Nice. Now, as far as the anime goes, so watching Pokemon and Dragon Ball, was that enough to thrust you into wanting more anime?
Oh yeah, definitely. I haven't mentioned it too many times, but before I was into comic books and superheroes and all that stuff, I liked Spider-Man because of the animated show in the 90s, and that was really about it. I knew about the X-Men and the DC heroes and all that stuff, so Spider-Man was basically it, but I wasn't reading comic books. Like a few issues here and there from the drugstore, if you will, but nothing too major. I wasn't really a collector or a fan of it. It was cartoons and anime when I first started watching that. I remember it was a block, a weekday morning block of Pokemon, Beast Wars, Dragon Ball Z, and something else. I would watch that at 6 in the morning before going to school. School started at 8, so it was like an hour I had to watch all these shows. And after that, it just kept escalating. Then I was really into Japanese history, Japanese culture. It taught me about that stuff, and I wanted to dig into that. And I then jumped on what did I? Oh yeah, I then jumped into Rurouni Kenshin, which is one of my all-time favorites. I love that series. Back then I didn't know about the concept of manga. I just thought it was just all anime. But yeah, I loved the anime, and then it just kept snowballing from there, Gundams and more Gundam shows, and all the Toonami stuff and everything. It just kept growing and growing. I think I only got into comics when it was 2008 or something, and I found an oversized hardcover for Ultimate Spider-Man. Where I said, it's Spider-Man, and it's a comic book, and it's not a thing. That's cool. So I bought that. I read it. And it wasn't until they opened a local comic book shop in 2011 where I really got into comic books and collecting all that stuff. But before all of that, it was strictly anime and manga, just reading the shonen stuff. Unfortunately, I am not a huge fan of One Piece. I love the show, I love the concept, and everything is awesome. I just haven't really sat down to read it because it's so massive, it's so large. But stuff like Dragon Ball Z and Bleach, Naruto, Yu Yu Hakusho, like I mentioned, and there's probably a few other mangas I'm missing. Really, Shonen Jump was that gateway drug, if you will, to that wonderful side of comics. And like it's really funny because I typed it on the Facebook group that a lot of manga fans really hated when you mentioned the fact that manga and comics are really just kind of the same thing. Just one's in Japan, the other's in the U.S. So
Yeah.
to me, they're all comic books. They're just like the estranged cousin, if you will.
Luis, you want to take over? If you want to start by talking about kind of your secret origins as well.
Oh, my secret origins of being a weebo. Okay. This feels like confession time. First off, I'm gonna agree completely with Gio in the sense that I think for a lot of us though, shonen, like the shonen style of manga is definitely the jumping on point for a lot of us. We grew up with things like Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z. I remember as a kid, man, Dragon Ball Z. It's something that I would rush home from school and we'd have that Toonami block where we would have Big O, Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, just like Yu Yu Hakusho, just like all this different anime. We were being exposed to a different culture without even realizing it when you think about it. But Dragon Ball Z was definitely my gateway drug into anime and stuff like that. And then I jumped in a few years later. Like I have a cousin who he's a little bit weird, a little bit off in the head.
Sorry.
I think we all do. No, it's fine. It's fine. He's crazy as hell. And I was like watching Dragon Ball Z, and he just looked at me and he goes, "Man, this shit ain't real anime." And then he popped in the VHS copy of Akira, and like instantly, just my mind blew. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" I was like 10 at the time, and that was something that I blew my mind. But the first manga that I remember reading, God, chances are it was probably either Dragon Ball, like Gio. I think that was most of us, or it was. I think my father ended up taking me to Barnes and Noble one day, and I picked up a random manga called King of Hell, or something like that, and I just started reading a random chapter, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And then I like went back and I bought like 3 other volumes, and I kept reading. I was like, "Wow, this is pretty good." But then again, I was like 14, so I don't know how good my judgment was back then, because I also liked the Transformers films back then. So I don't know. Since then, though, it's been kind of interesting to watch the manga and anime boom happen, especially to us who grew up in the 90s and the 2000s and stuff like that, where you see the rise in popularity of Dragon Ball, and you see the rise in popularity of shows like Attack on Titan more recently and things like that. But that's kind of my manga origin stuff in a nutshell.
Nice. So what series did you want to highlight tonight?
My series tonight is, this is no surprise, I'm going to be probably highlighting more of the popular stuff tonight. I have the first volume of My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
Holy shit, this is fucking fun. Like, pardon my language, but that's the best description you can use. This is a blast, guys. If you are tired of kind of the traditional superhero stuff, this is fun, man. This is a fun ride. Yeah, it's kind of your traditional shonen stuff, where the main protagonist, you know, he really doesn't do much wrong. He's a great guy and things like that, and you root for him and all the time. But it's still such a blast. My Hero Academia centers around the character named Deku. That's his hero name. And Deku at the start of the manga doesn't have any powers. He lives in a world where 80% of the population has powers. He wants to become a superhero. That's his life goal. And, you know, everybody kind of looks down on him. And sadly, his mom is like, "Look, you don't have powers. You really can't become a superhero." And his goal is that. So he's trying to get into this school where all the best superheroes are trained in, when he meets his favorite hero, All Might. And he discovers that All Might is able to give him a quirk or a power in this world. he eventually gets accepted into the school, and he has to compete and learn how to control this power. And he has to basically maintain in the school, meanwhile balancing a life and stuff. It's basically, look, this is basically like, a lot of people say it's a new, there's Kamala Khan and stuff like that is a new age Peter Parker and stuff like that. And I agree she is. But Deku, for me, is probably one of the best examples of a new age Peter Parker. I love this kid. I love this kid's story. It's such a blast to read, man, honestly. And the character designs here and the powers of all the characters, it's just, there's so much creativity going on here. And yes, some of it is stereotypical, but this is absolutely a blast, guys. If you are sleeping on this and you don't read manga and you read traditional comics, this is easily a gateway drug. I've read the first volume on Gio's recommendation, and I remember Riley recommending it as well. And then I immediately went out and purchased the other 7 volumes that are currently out. It's so good. It's really, really good, and I could see the hype of it.
I did the same kind of thing. Like, I watched the anime. It was one of those random mornings where for some reason I woke up at 3 o'clock and couldn't go back to sleep. So I just watched like all 13 episodes of the first season in one go, and immediately I was like, okay, I need to read this. And I did, and it was great. And what I would like to compare it to is, if you read superhero books, it's kind of like reading those school hero books like Avengers Academy, or, you know, the X-Men, like Wolverine and the X-Men, stuff like that, that have younger heroes who are coming into themselves, who are learning about being a hero. That's really what the book is about these kids learning how to become heroes and use their powers for good and stuff. It's a ton of fun. It really is.
How'd you feel about Kachan? He's such a dick.
Yeah. It's just like one of the kids that you get the feeling from the very beginning, like, okay, I wouldn't be surprised if that guy becomes a villain at some point.
Yeah, they seem to be kind of setting him up that way. Like, they even mentioned throughout the volumes, like, oh, this kid, he's got like the potential to basically become a villain. But at the same time, like All Might, I think he mentions, like, he also has the willingness to get things done, like, and to go above and beyond.
I think like something would have to happen to him, for him to turn, because he wants to do good, but the problem is his motivation is basically just he wants to be the best at being a superhero.
He's selfish.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he's selfish. So it's like, it's not the best motivation to have, but whatever.
And what's the? Oh my God, I'm blanking on the guy's name. The one that he's half his body he could do ice, the other half is fire. I'm blanking on the name.
So it's with a T. Todoroki.
Todoroki. Yeah.
When you find out Todoroki's backstory, I was like, wow, that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't know if you made it that far, Gio, or not.
No, I actually read like the equivalent of the first anime season, and so I haven't gotten past that. But I think that I should read it tonight. I don't know.
Yeah, when you find out his origin in regards to his relationship with his father and his mother and stuff like that, I was like, oh, that's kind of fucked up. The next thing that's on my list, and I just dropped it. Thank you, baby. Always there for me. We're going to be talking about, and I know somebody mentioned in the chat, how many times can you mention Golden Age, but we're going to be talking about Berserk. If you've not read Berserk, goddamn, Berserk is good.
This is the portion of the show where it's the Berserk hour. So.
Oh yeah, like buckle up. If you were following me on Facebook for the past like 3-4 days, you would see that there was a lot of cussing. There were a lot of expletives thrown around, mainly fuck, and a few other things. Fantastic series. Like I've heard like people say Berserk is great, Berserk is fantastic. The Golden Age arc, the first 13 volumes is phenomenal stuff. It's some of the best manga, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. You are not ready. Like Riley tried to warn me a few weeks ago. He was like, yeah, I hope you don't mind nudity. I was like, it's not a big. You're not ready. You are just not ready. It's on another level. It's so damn good.
Like
it really is.
You have to basically, that the climax of the Golden Age is setting up what could fuck someone up so bad that they would basically turn their back on everyone that's close to them. Like that's basically what the finale shows you.
Yeah.
So you have to think, like, you know, what could happen? What could they do? And you know, it fucking goes there, and it's great because you get that, like, that sense of betrayal in the characters, and you get that sense of just you know, what basically creating a great sympathetic villain, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, we can say that Griffith is a villain, right? Like, it's not too big of a spoiler. You find out pretty much early on in the series, right? Yeah. It's getting to that point where the first 3 volumes of Berserk, you're following this character named Guts, and he's kind of a bit older. He's beaten up. He's missing an arm. He's missing an eye. And you reach volume 3, and you meet this character named Griffith, who he turns out to be, at least where I'm at in the story, the main antagonist of the story. Riley, you're farther than I am. And then it does something which I found to be interesting. It flashes back, and you get Guts' origin story for volumes 4 through 13. Or would you count 14 as in that point as well? Because 14 moves the story along, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, 14 is kind of the conclusion and aftermath.
Okay. So it goes back 4 through 14, and you get his origin story, and you discover these characters like Casca, Griffith, who becomes the main antagonist later. And the masterstroke of this is that Kentaro makes you fall in love with Griffith as a character, just like everybody else, just like all his soldiers, just like all his the people that follow him. And then when Griffith turns, you get why he turns and the shit that he went through, but it still rips your heart out. And there's some shit in the last 2 volumes that I will never forget.
I have no idea what we're talking about, but that's okay. Like, I haven't read any of it. I don't know anything about Berserk, but it seems pretty epic. Like, from what all of you guys are saying, it seems very gritty, and even though it's fantastical, it seems very realistic in the way it portrays, like, swords and sandals and violence and all that stuff.
It's very good for a lot of reasons, and it really lends itself as being a great entry into a lot of different genres. It's very easy to put it in the dark fantasy genre of books. Just a lot more mature than a lot of things that I've ever seen, and it's bloody, it's violent, it's horrific, but it has so much depth to its characters and so much breadth to its world that is built.
And some people say, oh, it's just violence for violence sake and stuff, and I could not disagree with it more. There is a cause and a reaction for every single thing that happens in that manga, and it's honestly brilliant. It really is, and I could see why it's heralded as one of the best of the industry.
Now the only thing we have to deal with is the fact that, unfortunately, it commonly goes on hiatuses, and it's not done yet. So,
is it even close to being done from what you've read?
So Omar, I don't know if Omar is watching tonight. He's in the group, and he explained to me that the arc that they're currently on, Fantasia Island, is meant to be the finale of the series, but they've got, arcs that span, I think, the Falcon of the Millennium Empire is like 15 plus volumes long. So you could have something like Fantasia Island, there's only about 5 volumes out right now. It could go on for another 10 volumes. It could go on for longer. It could be shorter. You don't know exactly how long, like, that arc's going to go on. But apparently he did explain that it is the finale.
Okay. Kentaro Miura, he's gone on hiatus again. Like he's on hiatus for another 6 months, is what he just announced, which is kind of funny because the the mangaka of Hunter x Hunter just announced he's coming back.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know. I know that with Hunter x Hunter, like,
he's got health problems.
yes, he's got health problems, and that's why he goes on these hiatus commonly. But I don't know if it's the same for Miura. Like, I don't know if he has health problems, because I haven't looked into him as much. I've been reading Hunter x Hunter for over a decade, maybe closer to 15 years. So I've seen things happen with that creator, and there was like even rumors that his wife, who's the creator of Sailor Moon, was going to take over the series for him. That obviously has not happened. But I haven't looked into anything about the personal life of Berserk's creator, so I couldn't say whether there's anything wrong with him personally. Ricardo is saying that he's addicted to playing video games. If that's legit, then that's funny and annoying at the same time.
Yeah, it kind of is. I wonder if also it might be an art thing, because if you look at the level of art, especially in later volumes, is gorgeous. It's super detailed stuff.
Yeah, it definitely is. And in that note, like, Luis and I talked personally about how we would love to see it get like a library edition type run, which would really benefit the artwork, because reading manga on those tiny pages, sometimes the artwork you're like, wow, this is so beautiful. It would just be amazing to see it larger. But we had this vision, like, basically of them making Hellboy style library editions, and having like what did you say, like the mark or whatever would be on the side?
The mark of sacrifice that Guts has on its neck, it'd be on the side, kind of like the Hellboy library editions.
Yeah. So that would be pretty sweet.
What would you think as far as like the outside? Because I was thinking either like the same as the Hellboy library edition, where you have the black and you have a picture in the center, or I was thinking maybe like a leather kind of design on the outside because it would match that time period.
I don't know. Either way would be really cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like by like a leather, like a faux leather, kind of looking like Preacher library edition or Absolute.
Yeah,
that would be really cool too. Either one, like make it like a tome, and it would fit too. Like if it looked like a big leather Bible, because it has those kind of biblical themes in the book with the demons and whatnot. But I don't know. Either way, it would be super cool to me. My only thing is, like, if it did get library editions, it would take up so many library edition volumes, because they tend to collect like maybe 500 pages worth of material, which is like a little bit more than 2 volumes worth of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, fuck it, exactly.
So we'd probably be sitting at probably 16 library editions of those things.
Jesus.
16, 15 of them. Can you imagine? 15 Hellboy library editions or 15 Goon editions.
Yeah.
It's practically half a shelf right there.
It would be like...
It's a whole calyx.
Yeah.
Like the like Uncanny X-Men by Claremont. It's across like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books so far, I think, is what I have on my shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Who
yeah,
publishes... sorry, I was going to ask, who publishes the manga here in the U.S.?
Dark Horse, which means
well,
they're expensive.
Well, they can do it. I mean, we could petition for something to happen with those collections.
I think it would be cool if they did, like, because Kodansha does the Colossal edition for Attack on Titan and the Master editions for Fairy Tail. If they did something like that, that would be really cool. If we could like convince them to do something like that for manga, and it doesn't have to be for Berserk. They could do stuff for Trigun. They could do stuff for Hellsing. Like, there's plenty of manga that they have, and I know that they've been doing their like omnibus editions, but they're all mostly the same size. It's not like they upped the size, except for I know Blade of the Immortal is larger.
They just do them like a little bit fatter, right? Like Orange here is actually pretty big. This is sort of like their Omni edition, if you will, from Seven Seas. They probably do this, in my opinion.
But suffice to say, if you haven't read Berserk, you should definitely at least give the first volume a shot. Starts out with Guts having sex with the demon, so that's appealing.
There you go, wholesome family fun right there.
There you go. Don't show it to your kids, unless you're my parents, who they showed me weird stuff at the age of like 4. I saw The Exorcist at age 4.
Sounds like my wife.
Huh?
Sounds like my wife. She had the same upbringing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, we saw a lot of weird shit at an early age, and that's probably why I'm so desensitized to stuff, other than that last volume of Berserk, which is completely messed me up.
I'll be honest with you, I never wanted to check out Berserk because I remember back in the 90s when the anime came out in the 90s, right? Early 90s?
Yeah, it's 26 volumes.
Well, I remember the anime and people were saying like, oh, like this is some hardcore shit that kids can't see because it's like demonic and pornographic in nature. I'm like, well, shit, I'm not going to watch it then. So it was always like they sold it to me. I think it was an uncle of mine, like that he likes manga and all that stuff. He always sold it to me like this is like X-rated material. I'm like, oh, shit, okay. I won't check it out then. So that's probably why I never bothered with it. But you guys talk about it so much, I'm like, I should check it out. But then again, I don't have space for 100 volumes of manga, so I don't know.
My goal is to get everybody in the group to read Berserk after I'm done collecting it. That way I don't miss any volumes.
Well, they've been doing good to at least keep it in print, because I remember before I went ahead and bought all of it, there was like a listing saying like these are the volumes that are hard to find. And then all of a sudden, IST had all of them.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Dark Horse is starting to realize, oh yeah, this sells, and we should probably keep it in print.
I'm guessing they wanted to keep it in print because 28 was coming out.
Oh, yeah.
Coming out.
Next one, I guess. I'll speed along with this one. Akira! Most of us have heard of Akira, Katsuhiro Otomo's masterpiece. I'm not going to dwell too much on it, simply because if you've never watched the anime, do yourself a favor, watch the anime, and then read the manga. That's what I'm recommending, at least. The hardcover box set comes out, I think, August, September, in that ballpark. Amazon had it for like $100, which is a steal for that hardcover box set. Akira basically tells the story of Tetsuo and Kaneda. I believe it's been so long, shit. Tetsuo, it basically takes place in New Tokyo, and a nuclear bomb has happened, and years passed, and Tokyo has rebuilt itself. It centers around the character of Tetsuo and Kaneda. Tetsuo being the protagonist. Am I right on that? No, Tetsuo is the antagonist. I always get them mixed up. Anybody? Throw me a bone real quick.
Yeah, Kaneda character.
I'm hearing the... Am I going crazy, or do I hear the Akira music in the background? Gio, don't mess with me. Are you messing with me right now?
Maybe.
Kaneda is the main protagonist. Kaneda is the leader of a bike gang in this future, and one fateful night, Kaneda and Tetsuo go out on a ride. Tetsuo ends up crashing because he is confronted with this little boy who is weirdly shaped and looks like an old man. They soon discover that Tetsuo has powers, and the powers go out of control. What's interesting about the manga over the anime is that the anime finished. They finished working on the anime before the manga was even done. Manga was like about halfway done by the time the anime finished. So when you watch the anime, they cut out a lot of characters. They cut out a lot of context clues. They cut out a lot, and you're only getting about half the story. After the ending of the anime happens, you delve into this basically post-apocalyptic world where Tetsuo has kind of risen into power by using Akira. I'm not going to get into too many spoilers because I know a lot of people in the Omnibus group, they're going to jump into it for the first time with the box set that's going to come out in a few months. But it's great stuff, man. It's so much fun all the way through. And it slows down a little bit, if I remember correctly, like in the 4th volume, and then it picks right back up and it kicks ass all the way through, all 6 volumes.
Plus, you made like 6 videos on it, so.
Yeah, I did 1 video for every volume. As I was reading through it, yeah. That was actually kind of hard. And then I gave my final review. You can check out those videos on my channel. But yeah, I go through every single volume. I'm like, wow, this is what I liked in this volume. This is what I didn't like in this volume. And then at the end, I give it a final score. It was really good. I dug the hell out of Akira. And
so
that's gonna be
people can do like a readathon with you.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the whole idea with it. And I had 1 or 2 people that were like, they actually were reading it as I was reading. And that was my girlfriend saying, "Oh my fucking god," while playing Crash.
Heard it loud and clear. Don't worry about it.
Huh?
I heard it loud and clear.
No, I didn't hear Riley.
Oh, sorry.
She's playing Crash right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear my wife playing it in the other room.
But that's pretty much what I got for you guys today.
Awesome. So I've got some stuff, and if either of you are familiar with any of these books that I'm talking about, please feel free to jump in and talk with me, because it's been so long that since I've read any of these. I was just checking that it's the only thing I have fresh in my mind is the way they made me feel. But
and that's what matters.
Yeah. First, just just talk a little bit about my origins. Very similar to the other guys. The first animes that I really watched were Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z. I remember very vividly, too, the first time I watched Pokemon, I had no idea there was a Pokemon anime. I just knew that Pokemon the game had recently come out, and I was reading Nintendo Power at the time. I got the magazine in the mail, and they kept talking about Pokemon, and there was even little Pokemon comics in there, and I was like, wow, this is really neat. That game looks cool. I think I'm going to probably buy it. And so I bought the game, and I played it, and I loved it, and then all of a sudden one day I saw the anime, and I was like, holy shit. Like, it's so cool to see something that, like, brings something to life that you love as much as you did. And so it was just the first time I ever saw something about, like, that was based on a video game animated that way, outside of maybe the old Super Mario Brothers cartoon. But
do you remember what your first Pokemon episode was? I remember mine clearly.
It was fairly early in the series.
Mine was
I want to say it was before he met Lieutenant Surge.
Oh, that is early on.
Actually, it might have been later. I want to say the first episode that I saw might have been Safari Zone.
Oh, with the Kangaskhan?
It might have been. I don't know. That's the thing I'm not clear on. I remember being at home at the kitchen table and turn on the TV, and then all of a sudden there's Pokemon on the TV, and I was just extremely excited, like, holy shit, like, Pokemon, but it's on my TV.
My first episode was the Butterfree one, where Ash releases the Butterfree the first time.
Ah, shit.
Yeah, that was an emotional episode. I remember going to elementary school crying that day.
But then the next anime that I really watched was Dragon Ball Z, and I also remember that one clearly. The first episode I watched was something from the Frieza saga, where he was actually fighting Frieza. So actually getting towards the climax. And I was at my friend's house, one of my oldest friends. I actually saw him for my birthday this weekend. We had a big get-together. And I had never watched it at all. I don't even know if I'd heard about it at that point, but he's like, hey, do you know Dragon Ball Z? And I was like, no. And he was like, okay, cool. Well, we're going to watch it, because there was another it was like when there was new episodes on weekday nights or whatever after school, and I went home to him after school. and I watched it, and I was just like, holy shit, this is awesome. Like, this is basically like animated Power Rangers but cooler. And I just immediately fell for it, and I went home and I had to go watch like every episode I could, like see it on TV whenever I could. I borrowed tapes from him. I wound up buying tapes, and it was funny because I never watched it all the way through, because at the time it was hard to do that unless you had like money, and I did not because I was so young. And so I remember watching random pieces and random stuff, and it was fantastic. It was a fantastic experience. And then watching that and watching Toonami and just expanding on different anime and stuff, and going into like Yu Yu Hakusho and ones that y'all mentioned, especially like a lot of stuff that Gio mentioned with Big O and all that. And then eventually that expanded into me during the summertime when I was in like middle school, learning about Adult Swim, having anime on the weekends, and staying up all night to watch some of those shows, and it was just freaking awesome. But I remember the one series that really expanded my horizons on anime was Excel Saga. And that series, I was in a summer art program doing like a graphic design class, and during our lunch break, my teacher was sitting at her computer watching anime, and I walked in and I peeked in on what she was watching, and I was like, oh, I don't know what this is, but it's anime. And I was really into anime at the time, so I sat there and watched it, and it was just so ridiculous and off the wall. But it was just fantastic and hilarious, and it broadened my horizons, like opened my eyes to this whole other world of anime outside of the stuff that just played on TV. And I just went from there and started, spiraling into more and more and more, and just absorbing everything I could, until I started getting into reading manga, because they started publishing the Shonen Jump magazine in America, and it already had, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Dragon Ball and Yu Yu Hakusho, so enough things that I was familiar with to get me interested. And then I started reading all the other series, and it just exploded from there. I just read as much as I could. But yeah, that's kind of how I started. And I think I mentioned it already, but it was cheaper at the time for me to read manga, like $10 a pop, as opposed to American stuff, which was like, closer to 20. And it was just a better value at the time. And like Borders and Barnes and Noble would always do those like buy 2 get 1 or buy 3 get 1. So it was awesome. And it helped me out. So I got turned on to so many different series, and I have 4 different ones right now that I've never talked about, and I don't think we've ever discussed in depth on the show. So I'll go ahead and go into those. The first one is the most off the wall out of all of these, but it's a series that it's hilarious and I love it, and that's Cromartie High School.
Is that Freddie Mercury?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm buying this right now.
So
Yeah.
I have to warn you, though, Cromartie High School, unfortunately, as much as I love it, it never was able to be concluded in America. I think there's like 17 volumes, and they only ever released 12, something like that. Unfortunately, it got canceled because it didn't sell well. But it's a hilarious comedy series that makes fun of all of the tropes of like high school manga. So you have all of these different high school characters who are just supposed to be like the toughest character ever. And this one guy who's like this completely normal dude gets transferred to a school that's just full of these tough fucking characters. And like, they're all strong, and they all look like they're like 30 years old, and they just, beat people up every day. And it's like this network of schools where every single school has all the toughest gangster kids, and they all look like, Kuwabara from Yu Yu Hakusho and stuff like that. And it's just hilarious. And it just gets more and more ridiculous as you go. Like the first episode he shows up, or the first chapter, he shows up at the school and he notices everyone's really tough. And like this one guy, let me get the camera so I can see. But this dude, like, he drops his pencil. This is the main character, and this dude picks it up and just like snaps it in half in his mouth and starts chewing on it. And he's like, "What the hell? What are you doing?" So he decides. He says he ate my pencil, but Cromartie is famous for its delinquent students. This is most unusual. So he thinks, and he dumps the entire pencil box on the desk, and the dude grabs all of them and just starts eating them. And that's just the first chapter. Like, okay, this isn't normal. And going forward, you get all these different characters, and it's like every chapter introduces you to more characters. It's more and more ridiculous every single time. And eventually you get like this whole host of guys that are on the cover, including Freddie Mercury, basically, who fucking rides in on a horse. And you get a little robot dude, Mechazawa, shows up, and the main character is the only one that sees him as a robot, and everyone else is basically convinced that he's a human. And it's just it's a hilarious series. I absolutely love it. I'm pissed that it never concluded in America, but it's totally worth reading, at least watching the anime, which is rather short. I think it was like 13 10-minute episodes. So it's worth looking at the very least.
Yeah, the anime was really fun.
Oh god, it's so funny. There's also, did you happen to see the live action movie?
I saw a trailer for it, but I haven't seen it.
It's just so ridiculous.
I can imagine. It's pretty
Everything
messed up.
about Cromartie High is just the most ridiculous thing ever.
And did they have like a gorilla or something?
Yes. Yeah, there's a gorilla character. There's Mechazawa. There's Mini Zawa, I think, which is like a smaller Mechazawa. There's one of my favorite, and I'm going to try and think about how it went down, but one of my favorite chapters was where one of the characters, who's like one of the tougher dudes, is secretly, he's a huge computer nerd, and he's like on a forum talking to people about computers. And there's this guy that just keeps trolling him and trolling him and trolling him. And he's letting it get to him. And he's like, oh, fuck, I really hate this guy. Like, he's ruining my day. And, like, eventually, like, he loses it. And he just gets pissed. And he's like, the next person that gets in my way is just going to get it. And he's walking down the street. And it turns out the dude that was trolling him is also walking on the street. And he accidentally, like, bumps shoulders. And the troll turns and he's like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. And he just turns and just punches him right in the face. And just keeps walking. And he's like, oh, that doesn't make me feel any better at all.
Yeah, that show's just, or the manga is super great. Like, I recommend it as well. It's really fun. I haven't read the manga, but I did enjoy the anime.
It's good. I love it. It's just absurdist comedy, and that's exactly what you need, is something super absurd. Going into my next series. This one's a classic. It showed up on U.S. television a while ago, but was not really well received here. But I've heard in a lot of Spanish-speaking countries, it's actually a lot more popular, and that's Knights of the Zodiac.
Caballeros del Zodiaco.
Yeah. So did you watch this one at all?
I remember watching random episodes. I didn't know what the hell was going on, but it looked cool.
I know what that is. I remember that as a kid.
There you go.
You watched it in the U.S.
That was badass.
It had Iran was the theme song.
Yeah, that show was badass. I remember little bits and pieces of it, like Gio, but I don't remember much of it.
But it wasn't that popular here, unfortunately. And fortunately, it was just popular enough that Shonen Jump decided to release the entire series. And it is classic. It's just classic shonen action. Basically, you have Seiya is the main character, and he is a knight of the Zodiac, more or less, which are it's all like Greek mythology inspired, and all these characters have armor that they call their cloths, and their cloths are based on stars, like constellations and stuff. And so Athena has her army of people, and there's bronze knights, silver knights, and gold knights. Bronze being the lowest, and Seiya becomes a bronze knight. He's the Pegasus knight, and he going forward, like you meet all these other bronze knights and silver knights are the stronger ones, and then the gold knights eventually, who, if I remember correctly, are like based off of the actual zodiac signs that we have. And it's just this big, it's very stereotypical action. Like everything is about someone fighting someone and someone learning new abilities, but it's just so fun and so classic. Like I just absolutely loved it growing up. I was reading this in middle school, and it just has such classic like style of artwork in there. It's very clearly from the 80s. But going forward, you meet all these weird characters who have all these weird powers and abilities, and you get to see them wear their cool armors and stuff. See what they're able to do. Of course, there's a tournament in there because every fighting manga has a tournament.
Course.
And it's just it's great. I really dig it. It's not, I don't think it's for everyone, but it was a series that I really dug. And it's funny because I have a friend online who is probably about 10 years older than I am, who is from Venezuela, I believe. And it's like his favorite thing ever because they grew up watching it. And like he had a Tumblr account that was all just Knights of the Zodiac. And I was like, man, I've never seen someone into that series as much as this dude is. So that was really cool to see someone who actually appreciated it.
I remember being pretty big as a kid in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe my memory's fuzzy because I'm younger than Gio, but do you remember it being pretty big over there?
Hey, shh.
I'm listening.
I don't know. People don't need to know the age. I'm kidding. Like I remember it being Saint Seiya, right?
Yeah.
Instead of Zodiac. I just remember like the characters and like the Greek themed with the armors and stuff, but that's about it. I didn't really watch it. I just watched like random scenes, I think.
There honestly isn't that much more to it. If I'm being real. Like it's just fighting manga. Like you just get characters come in and they're like, oh, I'm the Lizard Knight and this is the power that I can use. And you're like, oh, okay, cool, Lizard Knight, cool. But it gets like pretty violent at times. I remember there being a chapter early on where like someone gets their eye punched out, and I was like, whoa, that's brutal.
Wow.
And I tried using that as like reasoning to one of my friends why he should check it out, because I was like, it's not as lame as the cartoon seems. But so, eventually it's cool because you get to meet like the first arc is a big tournament, and then the second arc, the tournament gets interrupted. The second arc focuses on Poseidon, and then the third arc focuses on Hades. And you get like a bunch of the different gods and stuff have their own representatives, and like it's a really good classic fighting series. It's not like the deepest plot, but that's kind of what you enjoy when you're younger and like when you're reading these shonen series. And I read these series to kind of escape depth, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes. But that's about all I have to say about that one. Another one that I've never talked about and I really liked, this one was when I was in high school, is Black Cat. I don't know if y'all are familiar with this one.
I've seen several episodes of the anime, but I have not read that one either.
No, not me. Never heard of it, man.
So Black Cat is it was a 20-volume series. It came out in the U.S. while I was in high school. Focusing around a character named Train, which is this guy on the front here. And he is a sweeper, which essentially is a licensed bounty hunter. So he's got his group of sweepers with him, and they do sweeper things. And as the series progresses, you learn more about who he is and what his past was. And he's got a tattoo that you can see on the back cover here, of a 13, and you kind of learn that he's part of this group called like the Chrono Numbers or something like that, Chronos, that has members for Chronos meaning time. So there's like 1 through 12 for the hours on the clock, and then he was the 13th one. And it's also kind of typical in shonen manga style where every character has their own special abilities and powers, very specific look to them, specific feel, and he winds up having to encounter and fight these characters. But a lot of the series is kind of him learning about his past and learning how to take down this group who is like supposed to be like a, if I recall correctly, like a world peace organization, but trying to get world peace by the wrong means, essentially. But it was a really good series. This is another one that I don't remember extremely clearly, but it had a it had a pretty good plot that really got me going, and it was one that one of my friends, he was reading it in the volumes that I had, and then he was like, fuck this, I need to read the whole thing, and he just went online and read everything in like one go. It's good. I rarely hear it talked about anymore. Like it had some decent following back when the manga was coming out here in the US, but since then, like, I don't hear anyone talk about this series, and it really deserves some attention because it's a pretty fun little series. And then the last one that I pulled off my shelf is one that Gio mentioned a little bit earlier, and that is Rurouni Kenshin.
Yeah.
So Kenshin actually had some decent popularity in the US before the manga started to be released in the US because the anime was running on Toonami. And I never got into the anime because the episodes I watched were always the more kind of silly episodes.
Same.
And I thought, you know, this seems kind of lame. And it had, like, the theme song was the weird, like, metal but with really, like, high-pitched girls singing it. It was like, I brushed against the freckles that I hated so, something, something, something. And I breathe a little sigh for you.
Yeah, that happens a lot with anime and their theme songs.
Yeah, completely did not match the series at all.
At all.
Especially when I started reading it, because then I was like, I knew I didn't like the anime, but I read the preview chapter of the manga in Shonen Jump, and I was like, you know what, this is pretty cool. So I started picking it up, and I was like, damn, this is a really good series. And maybe Gio might have to help me out a little bit, but essentially, Kenshin was the Hitakiri Batosai, the manslayer. So like an assassin, essentially.
He used the reverse blade.
Yeah, and well, if I recall, he did not have it before, but he does now, because after his time during the was it a war? It was the Meiji era, but was it a war that he was in? I don't remember that. If you do, Gio.
It was about the Meiji Restoration something.
Was Samurai X the pre-series of this? That you saw his life while he was in the war?
Samurai X was like a movie based on that era.
Okay.
But yeah, it was during the actual war and stuff. But he was basically brutal, like killed so many people. He was known as, you know, the manslayer, and you see on the back like him kind of in more, you know, manslayer mode. And then after the war, all of a sudden, just, you know, anime eyes, just very feminine looking, like he's just complete opposite. And people are like, you know, there's kind of whispers and stuff of like, oh, that's the manslayer, that's Batosai. And they're like, no, it can't be, because he's, you know, now he's all cutesy and funny and whatnot, and he's meeting up with all these other characters. And it turns out, yeah, it totally is him, and he totally did kill like tons of people. But now he does not want to do that anymore, and he wields the reversed sword. I don't remember what they call that sword, but the blade is on the back side. So when he hits people, he's hitting them with the blunt side of his weapon so as not to cause any casualties. And throughout the series, you see him meet up with and fight against people that he crossed ways with back in the day, who more or less they're kind of forcing him to go back into that, you know, killer mode that he was in. And it's just a really great look at this era of Japanese history. And while it's completely non-factual, it does give you a nice look into the history of Japan and of samurai and all that good stuff. And at the back of every volume, there's this, like, they put these glossaries in there where they explain terms and like what different stuff means. So you can keep in mind that while you're reading and enjoying watching people hit each other with blunt swords, you also get to learn something.
Yeah. The war that we were talking about is the Bakumatsu, and I'm going to sound like a nerd right now, but I'm going to tell everybody that it's in the final years of the Edo period when the Tokugawa shogunate ended. This is late 1800s, which led into the Meiji government, which put a ban on Japanese swords and the samurai and all that stuff. So it's that transition piece where Rurouni Kenshin takes place. And in case you were wondering, Samurai X, actually, that was the name for us in the U.S. It was because the name is too Japanese, so they were like, you know what, let's call it Samurai X. People will think it's edgy and cool and watch it. So they did an OVA, which stands for Original Video Animation, and the movie you're talking about is Trust and Betrayal, which is sort of an OVA explaining sort of how he became Batosai, the manslayer, and all that stuff. So, yeah, there you go.
Nerd.
I know.
Like the era though that when coming into the Meiji Restoration, that also marked like kind of a westernization of Japan, if I recall. Like they were bringing guns and gunpowder in, and so in the manga that's kind of reflected by Kenshin going up against these characters who use cannons and use guns and stuff, and you see him having to go, you know, blade against bullet. So there's a lot of cool action sequences with that kind of stuff.
So yeah, if anybody out there wants to get into anime and manga, it's a great place to start. Plus, you learn a whole lot about Japanese culture in the process.
And the creator, Watsuki, if I'm correct, he's super into like superhero comics, and pretty much in every single volume, he starts talking about like books and figures that he got. Like I remember something with like Spawn. When Spawn was coming out, and he if I recall, he mentioned to have based the appearance of one of his characters a little bit after Spawn. I don't remember which character, but I remember reading that in the book, like in the forward or afterward or whatever, where he's like, "Oh, Spawn is really big right now, and I totally based the appearance of so and so off of Spawn." There's
also a character in the Enishi stuff that's based off of Venom, but I don't remember the name of the character.
I think that might have been what I'm thinking of. It might have not been Spawn. Like I know that there's one that's based on Venom, but it's such a good series, and it's one that I want to revisit at some time soon. I'm actually trying to pick up the Visbig editions of this, so I've got my smaller volumes are up for grabs right now. If anyone's total plug. But if anyone's interested in this, let me know. Like, I have the whole 28-volume series because I'm trying to trade up to the bigger ones to give me kind of a reason to revisit it, I guess. But it's one of my favorites of all time. I also like that it's only 28 volumes. I say only like that's a short, but it's not like one of those that runs for like, 75 volumes. It was pretty contained. So it's not something that, takes forever to collect and read and all that stuff. It's very contained. It has a nice contained story that you can see, like, it was thought through where you get, like, the beginning, the middle, the end. And it has the final main villain is pretty frightening also.
It's just a shame that we never got to see it in anime form, that last part.
They never adapted that? I didn't even realize that.
Because they were stuck in filler, and they had done like, I think it was like 30-something, almost 40 episodes of filler, and the series had declined so much in viewership and in ratings that they just canceled it, and we never saw the Enishi arc adapted into anime. Like, they did try it with another OVA, Reflections, which was not that great. They tried doing a condensed, simplified version, but it wasn't the same.
It's like no Shishio?
Oh yeah, we did see Shishio. It just ends. That's when the Shishio arc ends. That's where it goes into like 30 or 40 episodes of filler, and it ends.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that last part is just horrendous. There's a couple filler episodes where they're pretty good, but then it just goes into this nonsense about when the Portuguese arrive and doing trade with them. It got really boring in my opinion, and it got canceled.
That's dumb.
Yeah, definitely. By the way, I was gonna ask earlier which of the characters is your favorite, because that series had a ton of badass characters.
What's his name? Sonosuke.
Sanosuke? Yeah.
Yeah, okay, number one, growing up, I don't know about you, but giant swords were always fucking cool. Like, if you had a giant sword, you were the man. And that's like my childhood self popping out while reading Berserk. I'm like, giant sword!
Wow.
But the fact that his giant sword was not even a blade, it was just a giant blunt force object.
Yeah. It's not sharp, it's just huge.
Yeah. That was cool to me. And then whenever even cooler to me was when he started to learn to use his fists.
Yep.
And you get that technique that he did where they're like, do the two strike or whatever.
Yep.
And I use that to this day. Like, if I need to break through something, I use the two strike, and I don't know. I'm probably just imagining it, but I think it works.
I'm laughing because to this day, when I'm bored, like instead of a fidget spinner, I keep doing the move. And like I'm imagining hitting stuff with the knuckles and stuff. It's it's the thing. It's an anime thing.
Wasn't there one with the tips of the fingers too?
I don't remember.
Was it 3, or did I make that up? I don't know. But I know that in what's it called? In Kill Bill, when the bride is in the coffin, she uses that. Like, she does that over and over.
My girl just literally said Kill Bill at the same time you said.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Kill Bill.
It was I think he was definitely my favorite character. He was super cool.
I liked Saito and Aoshi Shiramori.
Aoshi.
Was Aoshi the one that had like two swords in his sheath?
Yep. It was the cool guy.
Cool. I created so many like fan characters that had that same type of thing going on with like two swords. I created a fan character for Bleach that had two different Zanpakuto.
Yeah.
That were like on the top and bottom of a sheath like that, and then they both had two separate like Shikai and Bankai, because I was a giant fucking weeb.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because my girl is like punching the wall now doing that Kill Bill thing. She's like, it's working.
Go right through.
Hey, she's got a heavy hand. She can hit, so she might be able to break through this wall.
I did it to my bookshelf that's next to me, and it wobbled, so I was like, I better not.
And she's gonna be at work tomorrow doing that all day now.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But that's all the stuff that I pulled out. There's a lot of different series that I was looking at back here. That
you have a ton of books down there.
Yeah, dude.
Oh god, yeah. Let me like move my chair so I can show a little bit of what I got going on here.
Riley's about to show you his dark secret. He's a weebo.
Hold on to your butts, kids. We're getting a tour.
So I don't have enough room to like actually put them on shelves. Wow. So I just have a stack here of different books. And a lot of them are stuff that, people talk about all the time. Like, I've got Full Metal Alchemist here, and I've got, Bleach and stuff. I have some series that I've mentioned on the show in the past, like Ice Shield 21, the football series. Classic series over here, Ranma 1/2, from the same creator of Inuyasha, but this was one of her earlier books. Fantastic series. I absolutely love that book. Some things, Rave Master, I don't know if y'all remember that series when it was on Cartoon Network.
Oh yeah, that was great.
But it never concluded.
Mm-hmm.
It was another one I don't think the anime got entirely made ever. I've got GTO down here, Love Hina. There's my Excel Saga. See if I can show it on the camera in the corner over here. A couple series that I never hear anyone talk about. I've got Hoshinengi, which is like based off of I think a Chinese myth. It's a good 23-volume series. And then Muyo and Roji's Bureau of Supernatural Investigation, which is a cool like mystery ghost type thingy. So yeah, I've got a lot of different series that I could talk about, but it's very clearly I lean towards shonen books. Oh, here's a good one. I don't know if y'all know about Opart's Hunter or 666 Satan.
That was a prequel to something, right? Or like an earlier work of something famous?
This is created by Seishi Kishimoto, who is the brother
Yeah, there
of
you go.
Masashi, who of course did Naruto.
Yeah.
And it looks, the style of the animation or drawings on here is very similar to Naruto. It's pretty cool. It's like this kid who has the power of Satan, essentially.
Ooh, you had me at the power of Satan.
Yes.
Like
but
manga Hellboy.
It was originally, its title is 666 Satan, but in the
you got me.
They changed it to Opart's Hunter because they didn't want to upset people.
Oh yeah, you got. Well, that was like I said, I was a weird kid. You got me with that. That sounds cool. I was the kid in the neighborhood that would wear the Jason mask, and like the other parents would be like, "He's not right." So
Sorry.
I was the kid that was singing the high Japanese female voice from the Rurouni Kenshin theme.
Freckles.
And they were like, "The boy ain't right."
the boy ain't right. And you grew up in Texas, man.
Oh man, but that's all I got.
Yeah.
It's a lot of manga. I am so
Actually,
jealous.
Actually, no, I have more. What am I talking about?
Oh man.
Here's
Yeah.
my Dark Horse shelf. I knew I was missing something. I've got Hellsing, Trigun,
Gantz.
Berserk is up there.
Berserk.
And then I've got a bunch of like video game based stuff over here, Pokemon and Zelda.
Nice.
And some of the bigger like JoJo, and you can see under my pillow here, Akira, Attack on Titan, some Junji Ito, Evangelion. So yeah, that's I think that's it. That's all.
Did you guys know that the Ito stuff is getting an anime adaptation?
I saw that.
I wonder which of the books they're going to adapt. I don't know if they're picking one of them, but it is getting an anime.
I think I saw something about Tomy. Maybe.
Tomy?
Because Tomy has only like a movie series, if I recall correctly.
I think so.
So I think that's what they're looking to adapt.
You still got your Bleach set?
I do.
Bleach is over, right? No, there's volume 71 comes out like next month.
It's done in Japan. It has 74 volumes, I think.
Sweet Christmas.
Another one where the anime got canceled and did not finish.
Such a shame. I really
Bleach?
wanted to see that last part.
Bleach got canceled?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, really?
The second to last arc. Because they did the Fullbring stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So yeah, unfortunately.
So you'll never figure out what the real ending is? You'll never get it?
Unless you read the manga.
Yeah, unless you read the manga.
Oh, we're talking about the anime.
Yeah, the anime got canceled in the Fullbring arc, but
the manga still
concluded.
Okay.
One Piece is still going. Naruto ended as well.
But Boruto is going on.
But yeah. Have you been liking Boruto?
I've only read the first volume that came out in the U.S., but I was so surprised as to how good it was.
It's fun. It's like we're reading back when Naruto first started. That kind of innocent fun.
Exactly.
I thought Boruto was kind of a little shit.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a bit of an attitude problem, but
look who his dad is.
Exactly.
But I was so surprised because Naruto, by the end of it, I had gotten pretty tired of it. Like, I was just ready for it to end. And
it went on too long.
I couldn't tell you much about the final arc, just to be honest. But Boruto, like, I got it just kind of just as on a whim, because I'm like, whatever, just a few bucks, and I was so surprised by it. I was so surprised as to how fun it was.
Did you see the Boruto movie that came before it?
I didn't. Did it happen to adapt the storyline from the afterward thing from Naruto?
No. The movie set like 12 years later or something, and I believe the manga is adapting the movie plus adding more to it, or
Oh,
like
okay.
adding arcs and stuff, and it's trying to catch up. It's similar to oh my god, Dragon Ball Super and the whole two movies and how they adapted it into the manga and all that stuff, or the TV show. That's what they're doing right now. But it didn't. And the one thing I hate about the Boruto stuff is that I was so excited to see chapter 700 of Naruto adapted in the when it flash forwards 10 years, and we never got that. It just skips that, and you gotta watch Boruto. I'm like, come on, man! Not everybody's gonna read the manga. Some people want to watch the anime, so I think that transition was just too messy.
Well, I'm just planning to start Naruto this weekend because I've got the first 3-in-1 edition.
I am so excited that you're reading it.
I've heard that's probably the best way to start with the series. Pick up the 3-in-1 editions and then go from there. I know they sell the box sets, but I'm just taking it piece by piece because I've got so many other things on my plate to read at the moment, and I'm just going through a whole bunch of different series.
I love that series so much, and I know it's not everybody's favorite manga, and like Riley said, it just went on for way too long, but it stayed consistently good. Like, it never got to the point where it was just unbearable. Like, yeah, it's a little cliched sometimes, but I thought it was really great, and I'm so excited to hear your thoughts on it because I love that show. I grew up with Naruto in 2003, and I keep watching it. I am collecting the series on DVD instead of the manga. I'm getting the DVDs, and they're still coming out. I have like 100 of those. It's crazy.
Everything that I've heard is that My Hero Academia is a lot like it in terms of pacing and in terms of how it has a lot of the tropes and stuff like that of a typical shonen manga, but it's still a blast to read, and it keeps you consistently entertained, and it keeps consistently going, which is one of the things that again, talking about My Hero, because I've been watching it and reading it a lot lately, is it moves like lightning fast. They do not waste any time into getting into stuff.
My Hero, what I like about it, I enjoy the manga, obviously, it came first, but what I like about the anime is that it adds that flair with the music and the animation, all that stuff, and it really feels like you're watching a superhero cartoon. And when I'm reading the manga, I'm like, I can't, like, I want to hear the soundtrack while I'm reading it. So I have it on my speakers and everything when I read the manga because it's such a great series.
And after hearing All Might's voice in the dub, that's all I hear now is what's his name? He does Piccolo. He does Chris Sabat. Just you could tell that guy must have a blast recording All Might's voice in the recording booth because you could hear like just how much fun that must be.
Oh yeah, definitely. Plus, what's this girl's name? Ochako? Ochako? Waifu material right there. I love that's one of my favorite characters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, by the way, we haven't talked about One Piece, which I know Riley's a huge fan of. So
never read it. I haven't read it yet.
I've only seen the anime. And I like it. It's just way too long, so I'm scared of it.
That's one of the things why I haven't jumped into it. It's way too long, and I'm intimidated by the size of it. And I know you can get the box sets like Naruto. I don't know if they do 3-in-1s for it, but I've been wanting to jump into it.
It's really good. It is definitely long form stuff. It's definitely my favorite shonen manga because of the fact that it's very clear from the beginning that Oda really has thought out this world. And he's really thought out these characters, their histories, their futures, because throughout the series, basically every single character that you meet, whether they be a main character or just a side character, you get a background, you get a future, you keep seeing these people pop up everywhere throughout the series. And the world, it's like it expands nonstop, but it's a very, very organic expansion of the world, and like the things and the people that are within it. To the point that there's no doubt that he's sat there for so long thinking about what's out there and what needs to happen and what, has happened in the past. And it's just inspiring, like how much thought he put behind this. And you can go back and like just looking at the volumes on my shelves and thinking about the different points in the series and like who shows up where and what they part they played and like how important they were at whatever point and when they come back later on and what they do later on. And like you have characters that you'll see in one chapter and they do something, and then all of a sudden like 200 chapters later they pop up again, and like they're like, oh yeah, since then this is what I've been doing, and now I'm part of the plot. It's like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, that's crazy. But it's one of those that it's been going so long. Like, I've grown up reading this series now. I got into it back. It was one of the first series I really got into from Shonen Jump, like that I wasn't already into from like the anime. It was the first volume of manga that I ever bought, was One Piece Volume 1. And I was completely enamored with it from the get-go, not even knowing how huge it was or how huge it was going to become. And then just going forward, I remember I wound up keep reading, and one of my friends was like, started to reading online, and he's like, you know how freaking huge this series is? And I was like, no. And this was when we were in like high school. And, I was a freshman, and he was like, dude, there's like already, 30 something volumes. There's like 300 something, almost 400 chapters. And I was like, whoa, that's a lot. So I wound up getting caught up because I was like, it's going to take forever for me to get there. So I wound up reading it online, just reading it weekly as it was coming out just for years and years and years. And now we're at like 800 frickin' something chapters.
That's why I haven't jumped into it.
It's insane, but like, what's up?
Is it anywhere near finishing, or what's the status on the story?
So there's a definitive halfway point on the characters' journeys, and that halfway point happens somewhere around 500.
Oh, jeez. So
it's very strongly thought that the series is going to wrap up with about 100 volumes, with about 1,000 chapters.
Wow.
And back when I was in high school, I remember Oda saying something about like 1,000 chapters or 100 volumes or whatever it was. And it seemed like such a lofty goal at the time, but we're like 15 books away to 100, which is coming very soon. But it's the type of thing that like it's divided into these very clear arcs. So you can like set tiny goals for yourself. You're like, okay, I'm going to read the entire East Blue. I'm going to collect the East Blue, and then I'm going to collect this, and I'm going to read through this entire chunk next. And it makes it a little easier to digest in that point. Just taking it in piece at a time. And before long, you wind up getting through everything, and it's like, okay, cool, that wasn't that bad. But essentially, if you decide to get into it, the East Blue arc is separated into a bunch of smaller arcs where they're more or less introducing us to the characters, the main characters. They're giving you a little bit of their past. They're telling you what their specialty is, what they do. And your main character, Luffy, winds up pulling them into his crew. And then they get into the Grand Line, which is a line that goes all the way around the world. And when it brings you back to the opposite side of the Grand Line, that's the end of their journey. They're trying to get to the last island because that's where the treasure is, the treasure of One Piece. And the Pirate King is the person who gets there and gets the treasure. So Luffy's goal is to be the Pirate King. And every arc is, every major arc has a bunch of smaller arcs that feature them going to another major island in the Grand Line. So the first, after you get to the Grand Line, there's Baroque Works, where they fight a whole group of like bounty hunters, essentially. And then you get to Skypiea, where they visit God, and God is basically is Eminem. And then you get to one where they're like in a place where it's this like island where they build. They're known for building ships, and there's this whole thing going on there. These assassins, and then there's an arc where they go to a prison. There's an arc where they go to a fishman island, and there's an arc where they do all like there's all kinds of stuff, and everyone is separate enough that you can enjoy like that specific story and focus on that. But it's just really cool to have those tent poles, those placeholders where like this set of 10 volumes is very focused on this storyline. I don't know, I'm just jabbering at this point.
You can get on eBay right now the box set, which comes with the first 23 volumes for $140.
I think you can get it. You can probably get a better deal somewhere.
Yeah, that seems really high.
I'm willing to bet you can get a better deal. Or like a lot of people, you can wait for one of those buy two get one deals with like Barnes and Noble, and wind up getting all three for the price of two of them. I think the first box set I got for about $100 on eBay. The second box set I don't remember, and the third box set I got as a Christmas gift, and it was a lot of fun.
Somebody's asking in the chat about devil fruits. What's your favorite devil fruit?
I like I really like the elemental ones. So like Ace, Luffy's brother, who has the fire fruit.
Yeah.
That was really cool because the elemental ones, they can become that element. Like, so the fire fruit, you can become fire, and an ice fruit, you can become ice. So it's a little bit different from like, Luffy has the gum fruit, which allows him to stretch his body. Like, you don't become rubber, he just stretches his body out. But the fire one was one that's so simple but really cool to me. And I also really like I think it's the light fruit that oh god, what's his name? The yellow dude has, who the voice actor was the one that did that pineapple pen thing.
Wait, let me check it out on Google because I think I know who you're talking about.
Okay. Update. I was just looking on Amazon. You can get the first box set for $114 new. Used, you're looking at about $95.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Nah, it's not bad at all. If you go the used route, you can get pretty much everything for about $300.
Yeah.
Not bad. 72 volumes, over 70 volumes of manga for $300? That's not bad at all.
Is it Pika Pika no Mi?
I thought you were going to say Pika Pikachu.
Yeah, that makes sense because Pika means shiny. And it's used by... God, I don't know why I'm...
Borsalino?
Borsalino, whose title is Admiral Kizaru.
There you go.
What is that, yellow monkey in Japanese?
Yellow monkey.
I think. But yeah, he's like styled after basically like Italian mobster. Like he wears a suit and stuff to look like that. And he's just a fucking badass. And if you look up like Luffy versus Kizaru or like anyone versus Kizaru on YouTube, just watch some really badass fights. Like he's one of the biggest bamps in the entire One Piece world.
So you want to talk?
I think I've spilled all the beans that I want to right now about manga, and maybe one day we can do another
part 2.
Yeah, like a follow-up where we can talk about some other series. By that time, maybe we'll have read some other good stuff. Just spill it all.
Maybe I'll finally get to Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Oh man,
I can't wait for you to watch that and just enjoy the mind raping because
Gio keeps pushing me to watch that.
It will mess you up.
Yeah, it's quite the series.
Like I think it's an experience. Like the same, like you tell people, oh, you got to watch Akira, Ghost in the Shell, and Cowboy Bebop. You got to watch Evangelion at some point, just because it's so notorious for how screwed up it is.
Well, I still haven't seen Cowboy Bebop or Ghost in the Shell, so I need to jump on that too.
No.
I know.
Yeah, those are some good essentials. Bebop, just going in, just keep in mind it's mostly very episodic. So like every episode is just kind of its own thing. Don't really expect a huge overarching story. There is an overarching story, but I don't want you to be disappointed and be like, "Oh, I was expecting this epic storyline." It's more about the characters.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, like the main story is what, like 6 or 7 episodes out of the whole 26 episode series.
Yeah. And obviously it concludes with the main storyline, but it's mostly just about seeing those characters and their personalities and them doing stuff. And it's just a lot of it is just, you know, Spike is a super cool, laid back dude, and Ein is an awesome dog, and Ed is a really funny, silly character. So like it's great. I really love it. Ghost in the Shell, there's, you know, the standalone complex is a fantastic anime series, and then of course the movies are great.
The new movie?
What?
The new movie?
No. The OG, and then Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence.
Did you see the new movie?
I didn't, but I have everyone that has seen it, they've just said either like meh or it's shit. So
I've heard the same.
So I'm not really tempted at all. But Evangelion's definitely an experience, definitely one that you need to take in. There's a lot of mind fuckery going on there. And it's by Gainax is the studio that does it, which is the maker of my favorite anime of all time, which is Furikuri, which is another really fucky series.
We're getting 2 more seasons.
I know, I saw that. I'm super excited.
Everything's getting new stuff.
Yeah. Everything you had as a child, every childhood dream you had, we're getting new stuff. Your childhood is coming back full force. Dragon Ball Z, Fully Cooley, everything, just everything.
Everything old is new again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that we're gonna get a big O series pretty soon. That's gonna be rebooted.
2 of my favorite animes. They're not really that old, but Code Geass is getting a 3rd season after 10 years, and Eureka 7.
My cousin was pissed.
Oh, about what?
Code Geass getting a 3rd season. He was pissed.
What? Why?
He kept saying, "Why we don't need a 3rd season of Code Geass." I've never seen it, so I don't know.
I think it ended great, but then again, it frustrated so many fans that I think a 3rd season could be awesome. And by the sneak peek that we got, it looks really good. I can't wait to see what happens. The other one I was going to mention is Eureka 7, which I keep hyping up in the Facebook groups. It's getting an anime movie reinterpretation or something, sequel, prequel stuff. It's getting 3 movies. I can't wait. I'm really excited about that one.
And yet no Zodiac Knights remake. What are they doing?
Full shame.
Well, there's a current Knights of the Zodiac series, I think, ongoing. At least in manga, it just hasn't come to America because it wasn't popular enough.
Let's see. Did anybody here read any sports manga? Because people in the chat are talking about sports.
Bird Slam Dunk is great.
The only one I've really read all of is Ice Shield 21. That's the football one. I read a little bit of Prince of Tennis back in the day. And I read a volume of Real, which is like kind of a follow-up to, not a direct follow-up, but it was by the same creator as Slam Dunk. He did it much later, and it was about wheelchair basketball.
Wow. Like, they've done every type of sport, actually, in anime or manga.
They've done everything. Like, I used to joke with one of my friends, like, there's a manga series for fucking everything. And I remember joking about, like, there was 2 things that I joked about. I was like, you'll probably find, like, manga about firefighters and a manga about, like, people mowing lawns. And I bite my tongue because there is one about firefighters that I've seen out there, but I have not seen the lawn mowing series yet.
Dude, we gotta make it.
But
that was my first job, was mowing lawns, so it's dear to me.
Lawn Wars.
You could do it like Paperboy or stuff like that, you know, where it's you follow the adventures of this kid trying to earn money or mowing lawns or something.
That's a good idea.
That's not bad, actually.
Like kind of a day in the life type of series.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just have him like that's his thing, and then one day maybe like you have him run over something with the lawnmower and it trips him up. Like one day,
his own dog.
Oh God, no! I don't want to do that. But one day, like one of the times recently at my house, I ran over. It was already dead, but I ran over like a squirrel or something.
No.
And it was not the prettiest sight.
But yeah, they've done. There's a swimming one, right? It's called Free. Is it?
Yeah.
They also have basketball, baseball, football, soccer, ping pong.
Yeah, there's ping pong, volleyball,
which it's pretty popular. And there's something else I'm missing. Oh, there's Hajime no Ippo, which is pretty famous.
Yeah,
boxing. And
I'm surprised that Hajime no Ippo has never come into America. Like the manga has not come to America. I know it's super duper long, but it's so popular in Japan.
Mm-hmm. And even the anime, like the anime only got like one season, right, over here?
I think so.
Are there fan translations of it?
Yeah, there's scanlations that you can get online, but it would just be cool to have it. But that one's another. How long has that one been running? Like that one's super long.
Oh, somebody's saying Gear. That's the one about skating.
Yeah, Hajime no Ippo since 1989. Right now, according to Wikipedia, has 117 volumes.
Damn.
The anime, the first series was 76 episodes, and then there's another series that was 26 episodes, and another series that's 25 episodes. So I'm gonna say they have not even adapted all of it, but it's bullshit that there's not a straight up adaptation in the U.S. of the manga.
I think ESPN should license some of these shows and show them at like Saturday mornings or something.
They should do like ESPN 8, the Ocho, and just have manga or like anime shows on there about sports.
That would legit get kids hooked on ESPN for sure.
Yeah.
Like no excuses. Like, Dad, I want to watch ESPN. I'm so proud of you, son.
My son is becoming a man.
No, I'm just watching cartoons on Saturday morning.
Oh.
It's like, son, will you play sports too? Nah.
No. I mean, unless we can do like this super move where we hit the ball and it flies at 100 miles per hour. Yeah.
Of course.
So I think it was Prince of Tennis where they did that move where they hit the ball and it like is an extinction level type tennis ball or something, and they show like the dinosaurs or something. Am I wrong?
I didn't see that part.
Like somebody does like this super move where they do a backhand and they hit the ball so hard, like they compare it to friggin' dinosaurs being extinct or something like that. I don't know. I'll look it up. Japan's weird.
Well, on that note, I think I got to wrap this one up, guys.
No Yuri on Ice fans here? Nobody?
On the note of Japan's weird.
Nobody's seen Yuri on Ice?
Yuri on Ice?
I don't like figure skating, so I won't watch it.
Everybody's told me I need to watch it before we end the show.
It has beautiful animation. I'll give it that. But I don't like the sport at all, even if it's Yuri themed. No, just not for me.
Anyway, it gave us the birth of some really great Blades of Glory memes.
Well, anyway. I'm just gonna go ahead and say we're gonna wrap this one up today. Hope, like I said, hopefully we can do another one of these soon. Cover some other cool stuff, some other manga and anime that we haven't we haven't covered this time.
I'm down for that.
And otherwise, just wrap it up tonight. Just thank you so much, guys, for helping me with this one, and thank you everyone for watching. As always, Gio, where can they find you?
You can find me here at YouTube. It's youtube.com/aweekingeekdom, where I talk about anime, manga, movies, comic books, all that good stuff. Subscribe if you can. Let's make the channel a good one, and probably we'll get to 1,000 soon and do like a cool giveaway. Also, I want to plug the Otaku's Den on the Facebook groups, because this is sponsored by them, I guess. I don't know. I made that up. But it's cool. It's a cool group. If you're in the Facebook group, the Omnibus Collector, and you want to talk some anime, head on over to the Otaku Den. You'll probably see me posting a ton of shit over there. So, yeah.
Awesome. How many subgroups are we going to get? Eventually, we're just going to have like a fishing subgroup, a chess subgroup.
There is the gaming one. There's a movie one.
Okay.
There is the otaku.
Right.
There is
Pops and collectibles and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, the Crypto's Den.
The one that you started.
No, that was actually Jess and Tyler.
Sure. Let them believe that.
There you go. And of course the main group, and I don't know. There's a million other groups out there. I don't know.
It's crazy how many subgroups we've got.
But the only remaining thing that I guess could pop out is music.
Oh yeah, nobody has a music group yet.
That would be weird, because I don't know. People would clash over favorite artists and songs and stuff.
I feel like that would just be constantly fighting.
Yeah, definitely. Like, which band is better? No, this group is better.
Yeah.
Like, CDs are better than vinyl, and MP3s are better. I don't know.
Yeah, that would just lead to a lot of problems, I think.
And Luis, where can they find you?
You can find me at Hardcover Reviews. You can follow me on Facebook.com/Hardcover Reviews, Twitter.com/Hardcover Review, and Patreon.com/Hardcover Review if you feel so inclined to help a brother out and keep my channel alive. I recently, actually before this program went up, I put up a video saying why you should be reading manga. Check out that video. Check out all the other stuff I got on there. And yeah. Hope to see you soon.
Yeah. And as for myself, I don't know. You can find me on places and things. I don't know, whatever. But the only thing I want to mention today is if you go to my website, theomnibuscollector.com, the first two things are me talking about the DC Comics Most Wanted Omni Secret Ballot thingy-majigger. So if you've ever seen it in the past several years, on the Marvel Masterworks forum, there's every year they do a Most Wanted Marvel Omnibus list from member, I think, Tiger Eyes. So I decided that I wanted to do one that was based on DC stuff. So I was supposed to wrap it up this past weekend, I believe was when I was going to wrap it up, but I wanted to extend it a little bit further just to give more people time to vote and to kind of highlight more different series that people could vote on, because a lot of people mentioned that they didn't even know 10 series that they would want to vote for. So I wanted to give a little bit more time to so I could go into that kind of thing. And there's been a lot of stuff going on that I wasn't able to do anything the past couple of weeks as far as writing on the page, so that was unfortunate for my part, but I'm trying to allow some more time. And with that, if you would go onto the site, read the post that I made on there, just going over the rules for your submission, go on there, email me a submission, and then I think I've said on the 15th whereabouts, somewhere around there, is when I'm going to I'm going to go ahead and get the ballot together, put everything together and put it on out there. So that said, that's my wrap up for tonight. We'll go ahead and close out the episode today, and I'll see you guys next week.
Sayonara.
Adios.
Bye.